Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Reframing Eye Care podcast. Today's guest is Dr. Jade Coats, a fellowship trained optometrist whose path into eye care was anything but traditional. She began her undergrad career working in compound pharmacy in Arkansas and apprenticeship optician at LensCrafters, two roles that gave her a deep understanding of both science and service aspects of vision care. Today, she integrates the foundation into a rewarding career in optometry, medical eye care, mentorship, professional advocacy, industry collaboration. Dr. Coates continues to bring the same curiosity and hands-on spirit to every day into her practice in Arkansas. And for those of you that know her, she's a very well-known speaker in our industry and lectures a lot. So welcome to the podcast, Doctor.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's an honor. I always like having strong, independent women on the podcast doing great things, and a lot of get some inspiration from these podcasts as well. Tell us about your path. I mean, because it's been unique, from pharmacy tech to, optician at LensCrafters. Tell us about how that led to where you are today.
Sure. So in undergrad and all throughout undergrad, I worked in a compounding pharmacy lab. And this was a really unique experience because it kind of allowed me to dive deep into the science and the precision behind medications, as well as the importance for customizing medications and regimens for patients. Sometimes that would be my day job and I would go to college. And then other days, my after college occupation, if you will, was to be an apprentice optician. And I loved working at LensCrafters so much, and kind of a combination of both of these two things, giving back through pharmacy and through optical, that I actually deferred going to optometry school for a year. And I continued to work for a combination of both. I guess what got me involved and passionate about the pharmaceutical side of this to begin with is my mom has been and still is a pharmaceutical sales rep. So she's been in the drug industry my entire life. And so I've kind of got a behind the glimpse curtain, behind the curtain into the pharmaceutical world and the importance of our local and regional representatives and how they can really help us. And so I've used that kind of as an asset to help get to where I'm at today.
Yeah, no, that's great. Optometry requires adaptability. So give us, some background on corporate optometry prepared you. I think a lot of doctors have worked in corporate optometry, have found it beneficial to where they are, and, thank them for where they are in their career trajectory. I know that where I started, it gave me a head start and I learned so much. Just hear about your story.
For sure. No, I totally credit corporate optometry with helping me in the truest sense to teach me adaptability, the fast pace, the patient volume, the mix of everyday challenges, being able to see a younger patient versus an older patient and kind of going back and forth quickly, but managing time efficiently, handling a wide range of clinical presentations, in optical, being able to get to their level of educating to whatever they need, whether that's new lenses or new frame. I quickly learned through corporate optometry that essentially to stay efficient without compromising quality. And so I not only credit that, but also communicating clearly with my patients and team members. I feel like corporate optometry was an environment that really helped push and helped refine my decision-making skills.
Great. Can you share like a patient story that kind of changed your perspective on eye care?
Sure. So, one that changed my perspective. That's a good question because there's so many. There's several that were, as an optician, of course, who changed my perspective, whether it's helping someone get, their high prescription, their high index lenses, or even educating them that there are other options, or, a patient who's frustrated with the one size fits all progressive lens and educating them that there are other solutions, like maybe multiple pairs. So I think that there are so many different scenarios that occurred in my younger optician years that there's definitely one that kind of happened to me as a student that absolutely I credit with how I practice optometry today, or I think about her regularly. And it was during a SPOSH or SPOSH, Student Volunteers in Optometric Service to Humanity trip. And we were in Nicaragua, and we gave this woman who was 82, she was in her 80s, I think she was like 82, her very first pair of readers. She didn't know that such things existed. She used to be a seamstress, a cook, an artist, and she lived in the same little hut as her. She was like a great grandmother. And so her entire family lived in the same hut. And so being able to dispense her simple readers, just simple readers, I think there are plus 250 readers, something that we are all over the place in the United States, but giving this to a patient who desperately need it really changed my thought process and how I just thought of just readers. Sometimes these just readers can be life-changing medical devices for some people. So yeah, there's lots of stories I can go on and on, but optical, there's tons of optical patients who have changed the way that I think about how I prescribe.
Yeah. So you were optician, now you're optometrist. What's that dual, influence perspective that you've had over the years? Because there are a lot of opticians have gone to optometry school, and I think they benefit from it as well, because we are medical, but it is a refractive, a commercial component to it. How has that helped with your career?
I mean, for sure. It absolutely helps when it comes to like lens options, frame fit, how their glasses work. But it's also taught me to listen really closely to these lifestyle needs and how that translates to their personalized product recommendations. Now, as a prescribing optometrist, I don't just prescribe something and move on. I'm definitely thinking about how the patient will experience the glasses, and I make sure to explain the why behind my prescription choices. And this helps really bridge the gap between like the exam room and optical. So I find that it helps me build the trust of my patients if not only I can be their optometrist, but I can also offer recommendations in optical.
Yeah, I've talked about this on the podcast before, doctor-driven dispensing. I think it's so important because you're the voice, you're the authority of the practice, and patients want your recommendations. They want to, doctors are complaining about online sales and things like that. I mean, you have to explain it. You have to take the time, right? I mean, you have to let them know what the differences are.
Absolutely.
And then also to say we have value products in our office too, if that's what you choose that you want. To do that, I think a lot of doctors kind of scare off their patients with a price tag. I think they should have a value brand, my opinion, within the office, to not have patients walk with their script.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, the value of the patient or the doctor-driven optical experience really solidifies that, like I said, trust, and makes a strong relationship between the optician and the patient, the optician and the doctor. So I think that that's essential to delivering exceptional care.
Yeah. So what do you think is more for the optometry students who benefit for and optical at this point, or new grads?
Yeah, I definitely highly recommend patient or students, if they're interested in optometry school, to get involved in optical. And they might not necessarily be an optician, but getting this behind the scenes understanding of patient care and communications and truly the business side of healthcare can't really be taught in textbooks alone. And working in an optical really also helped give me insight on how patients perceive their vision correction, and really how critical it is to guide them through this lens and frame choices. And so sometimes in optometry school, it's really easy to emphasize being the optometrist part of it, but there's a whole other portion of the business that involves kind of like bringing it home, And so I think that having a slam dunk optical lab and optician and being on a good same team and on the same page is really critical for the entire experience.
Yeah, because I think in optometry school, we don't get a lot of practice management. We don't get a lot of optical. We get great medical training, but the real world too. I mean, we have routine care and we have patients that need that. And I think a lot of young optometrists are not going into having their own practices because they feel like they're not knowledgeable. They're nervous about it. And I think having that experience, like you said, working at a lens crafter's on a side or a doctor's office or a lab, can really help with that, right?
For sure.
Having that experience.
And even too, being an optician or even apprentice optician prior to going to optometry school actually allowed me to work in the optical lab throughout optometry school for work study. And so I was able to kind of continue that throughout while I was getting my education. And I felt like that's still to this day, my whole entire optical background absolutely tailors the way that I do eye exams.
So looking back, early career, so what is the most, defining reason you chose to become an optometrist? I mean, you loved optical, you were excelling in it, you were doing well. After that year, what made you change your mind?
So deep down, I always had a passion and interest in eyes and eye care. And I think that it rooted in the fact that, of course, my first prescription myself was a -4. So I was a pretty high myope as a 8-year-old girl. And for me, what really was always in the back of my mind as to why I needed to go to the optometrist route was the impact that my optometrist had on me. She didn't treat me as a child. She treated me as an adult. And when this was at a Walmart. So it was corporate optometry. And in that moment of just giving me my first pair of glasses, she treated me with such compassion and care that I still remember her educating me on the importance of annual eye exams. She's like, this prescription is not going to go anywhere. You're going to need eye exams for the rest of your life, but I'm here for you. I'm an advocate for you. You can come to me. And I just remember thinking back to that moment. And I was like, wow, she cares about me so much. And I want to be just like her. So she ended up being very involved in the Arkansas Board of Optometry. And a combination of just all of these things really helped me want to continue with the optometry route because I wanted to combine pharmaceuticals. I wanted to combine optical, but I also wanted to give back to my community and patients and help them see just like I got to experience.
Yeah. So now that you're an optometrist, you do a lot of different things. You see patients, you're a speaker, you're on a lot of leadership boards. What does that look like for you? Is it kind of just giving back to the industry, mentoring others? Tell us what that's about. Because I mean, a lot of doctors over time, master the exam lane. They want to do more. What is your advice to those doctors that kind of want to, collaborate with industry or, kind of do a little more outside the lane?
That's a great question that I get asked often. And it is fun to do all sorts of different types of optometry, but step one, I think, is just showing up and shaking hands. And so people are always like, how do I get here or there? And I'm like, well, you got to be there. So that's what I would challenge people. If you're looking to get involved in any way, shape, or form, show up and be there, shake hands, tell people that that's what you want to do. Reach out to your local your local pharmaceutical reps. If it's involved with pharmaceuticals, reach out to your local lens reps and frame reps. Reach out to those and really ask for them to help you, get to know your resources. And so if you're interested in any of those things, whether it's being in industry, whether it's pharmaceuticals or optical, reach out to those representatives and use them as an asset.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your story. Again, I love showing positive, impactful women in our industry doing great things to help inspire the younger generation of optometrists as well. So thank you so much for coming on.